Welcome back to the second installation of our program called Honor and Respect for Our American Flag. Again, I'm your host, Al Sipek, and with me is Mr. Frank Amiro, veteran of the Army and Navy and a former politician. In our previous segment, we discussed the evolution and history of the American flag. Again, no one's absolutely sure about a lot of facts surrounding that. So on this section, we're going to talk about the U.S. flag code and a few other items. One thing I would like to mention, for those that are into history, remembering one of the original flags during the Revolutionary War had red and white stripes and a rattlesnake on it that said, "Don't tread on me." That flag is now flown on all naval vessels of the United States until the War on Terror is over. I just thought I'd mention that. Now I'll talk about the code itself. Previous to Flag Day, June 14th, 1923, there were no federal or state regulations governing display of the United States flag. It was on this date that the National Flag Code was adopted by the National Flag Conference, which was attended by representatives of the Army and Navy and 66 other organizations. Purpose of providing guidance based on the Army and Navy procedures related to display and associated questions about the U.S. flag was adopted by all organizations in attendance. A few minor changes were made a year later during the Flag Day 1924 conference. It was not until June 22, 1942, that Congress passed a joint resolution, which was amended on December 22, 1942, to become Public Law 829, Chapter 806, 77th Congress, Second Session, Exact Rules for Use and Display of the Flag, as well as associated sections. The code is a guide for all the handling and display of the Stars and Stripes. It does not impose penalties for misuse of the United States flag. That is left to the states, to the federal government for the District of Columbia. Each state has its own flag law. What should be mentioned is that in several different cases that went to the U.S. Supreme Court, any criminal penalties relating to misuse or handling of the flag were struck down in favor of the rights of free speech. The code also empowers the President of the United States to alter, modify, repeal, or prescribe additional rules regarding the flag. No federal agency has the authority to issue official rulings legally binding on civilians or civilian groups. Consequently, there are different interpretations of various provisions of the code, and they will continue to be made. The flag code may be fairly tested. No disrespect should be shown to the flag of the United States of America. Therefore, actions not specifically included in the code may be deemed acceptable as long as proper respect is shown. That's the basis for the code. And now, Frank, I'll turn it over to you.
Well, as you stated, there are no penalties, and it makes it very hard to go up to someone and say you have the American flag improperly displayed, and they take exception to that. And some of the things I think in this program that people should think about is when you see people in our country, the United States of America, with another flag of another nation, protesting or whatever, and have their nation or any flag above the American flag, and going back to what veterans feel, that means very simply that the United States of America, where that flag was conquered by another country or enemy or organization. So that's why many veterans get highly upset when they see protesters putting another nation over the American flag. And in the flag code, it will state, no flag in the United States of America shall go over, above, or be larger than the American flag. And when people half-staff the flag, that should be done through the code book, the president, and with some very minor exceptions by a governor can do it in certain situations. And actually, I disagree with that. I feel that it should be U.S. Congress to promote the flag code, and the President of the United States should be the authorization to say when to lower it. But with that said, I've seen the American flag half-staffed or masked, and I've seen state and other nations or whatever flags above it in the United States of America. That's total disrespect to the American flag, and you may think it's just a cloth, but when you see it like that, it means we, the people of the United States of America, are being tampered with, and that's not nice, not in our own country.
Frank, I'm going to interrupt you for
Sure.
a moment because you enlightened me. You and Bill both enlightened me. Can you explain the church flag on naval vessels?
During the only time any banner or flag can go above the American flag is on a U.S. Navy vessel, or I would assume Coast Guard as well. And the reason for that is because when the chaplain is giving religious services, that goes over the American flag. And the reason for that is that it's a religious thing, it's not a military fighting vessel at that point in time. Once that flag is lowered below the American flag, then it's a U.S. military fighting vessel again. So it's amazing that enemies would respect that, and that's why it was done. And that's the only time that anything is put above the American flag. And some of the other things are, I'm wearing a pin, and what we should do is I'll try to do this short. And I've been at several ceremonies, and I'm sure everybody here or those of you watching have been. And lots of people are not really sure how the American flag is to be displayed at a podium, at a speaking session, or on someone's lapel. And it's very simple. When the American flag is on a pin, such as I have, that means that the pin with the American flag goes over your heart. That's where the pin goes. Now, the pin I'm wearing, there's a U.S. Navy flag there, and the American flag has the post in front of the Navy flag and is in a proper position, and it's not overdone by another flag. So that's the proper way of the flag. Now, at a podium, or when speakers, if Al and I were speaking to you at a podium, the flag would be to my right. That's the flag's own right. If you're the audience and you're looking at us like you're doing now, the flag would be to your left. It doesn't go to Al's left or to your left. It goes to where the speaker is, it goes to the right of the people speaking or at a podium. And if there's one flag, it can go to the right or be centered. That's not a big issue. But when it's with a state flag or a national flag or at a podium, it must go to the flag's own right, and that would be this side. So that's the right way. When you're wearing it on a lapel, it goes over your heart, and no other pin should go above that pin. Nothing. And that's the way it should be.
Okay, how about salutes to the flag for civilians and military, and when is that done?
Okay. Whenever you're in most parades, when you see the American flag coming down, a veteran can now, through an act of Congress, do a hand salute, like a military salute. Civilians should take their right hand, place it over their heart. If you're wearing a hat, the hat should go over your left shoulder with your hand over your heart, holding the hat on your shoulder. And then that's when the flag passes you. When it's in front of you. After it passes you, then you drop your salute or hand.
Okay, if you have an older flag, how should it be disposed of properly?
There is no exact protocol, but it's proper to burn it, and not with a ceremony, quietly and respectfully. And also, as you know, Al, you're in the fire department, and you know that if you have a polyester flag, gases can come off it, so it has to be at a certain temperature. And the flag should never be buried. Now, during the Civil War and even the Revolutionary War, it's suggested that some soldiers were buried with flags on them. And even on a Navy vessel, the flag is over them, and then the body is dropped into the ocean.
Right, and I've seen that. We've seen that on several different, even on TV shows and everything. So,
Right.
Well, all right, Frank. Thank you for that enlightenment, and we will be back later with Part 3.